Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Protecting Your Business Online webinar. This webinar is being presented by ODOT's Division of Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And we are excited to be joined with the Ohio Secretary of State's office, with the Internal Revenue Service, with the Better Business Bureau serving Greater Cleveland, and also with our own internal ODOT cybersecurity expert. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. Everyone is on mute currently. At the end of the session, we will have a question and answer session. If we need to, we will allow you to come off mute so that you might ask your questions. We prefer that during the presentation that if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will read those off at the end of the session. So I'm really excited to get started on protecting your business online. As a business and also as an individual, there are many things that come across our computers that sometimes we're not sure where they're coming from. So if we can give you any tidbit of information that will help protect you, we will have done a job well done today. My name is Lisa Washington, and I am a Regional Outreach Manager with ODOT. I work in the Office of Outreach, and I'll show you a little more about my office in just a few minutes. Again, we say welcome to everyone and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this webinar today. Joining us today, we will hear from Monique Moore. She is from the Ohio Secretary of State's office, and she is the Director of Community Engagement and Initiatives. We have LaTanya Bacon. She is a stakeholder liaison specialist, and she's with the Internal Revenue Service. We have Erica Delworth. She's the Director of Operations with the Better Business Bureau of Greater Cleveland. And we have Simon Herring. He is with ODOT, and he is a cybersecurity expert. So let's get started on our journey today. We are the Ohio Department of Transportation. We support our state highway system and we promote transportation initiatives statewide. I'm sure you've all seen us out on our highways, our trucks, white with the green logo as shown here. Our mission is to provide easy movement of people and goods from place to place. And we will and we do take care of what we have. We make our system work better, improve safety, and enhance capacity. So when we're out there on the highway, doing work on the highway, we're hitting all the marks on our mission. I will say, improve safety. I love to give this spiel. Please, as you are going through the construction zones, please slow down. There has been such an increase in accidents, particularly in work zones where people are being distracted, whether it's from a phone or anything else. There have been many vehicles, ODOT, as well as contractors that have been hit, and unfortunately, there have been fatalities. Please, any worker that's out on the highway wants to go home to their family. So please slow down, particularly in our construction zones. I work in ODOT's Division of Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion, better known as ODI. Lauren Purdy is our Deputy Director. And in this division, we have 3 offices. We have the Office of Business and Economic Opportunity, where Deborah Green is the administrator. She takes care of the DBE, or she oversees the DBE and our SBE, Small Business Enterprise Certifications, our DBE reporting, the DBE and EDGE goal setting. We have a supportive services program, on the job training, and also the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA Section 504. In our Office of Contractor Compliance, Kathleen or Katie LaPlace is the administrator. They handle prevailing wage, the certified payrolls, commercially useful function or CUF monitoring, and Title VI. Then we have the Office of Outreach. Deborah Green is the acting administrator for that office. That's the office that I am a part of. Along with myself, you'll also be introduced to my colleagues. So what we do statewide, regional, and district DBE, SBE, MBE, EDGE, outreach, and also provide resources. We work with not only ODOT, but our business community partners, providing resources, telling individuals and firms about the resources that are available with our partners. We offer DBE and small business webinars, workshops, and events such as we're doing today. We're also doing more of a focus on workforce diversity and inclusion, not necessarily the employee piece, but looking at having a more diverse workforce out on our highways. As far as the Office of Outreach, we currently have 3 outreach managers. Normally there are 4. Right now we are operating with 3. Myself, Lisa Washington, I cover the Northwest region for ODOT, which is districts 1, 2, 3. We have Jalita Stultz, who's down in our Southwest region. She covers districts 7, 8, and 9. Then we have Lynn Stevens. Lynn Stevens is doing double duty for us right now. She is the Central Regional Outreach Manager, covering District 6, 5, and 10. And in the interim, until we obtain a new Northeast Regional Outreach Manager, Lynn is also covering Districts 4, 11, and 12. We are your source of information or outreach. If you have any questions about ODOT, please feel free to contact any of us and we can assist you in any district. So at this time, I am going to introduce our first presenter. Our first presenter is Monique Moore, and she is the Director of Community Engagement and Initiatives. And let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. Monique is the Director of Community Engagement and Initiative. Monique works each day to connect Secretary LaRose to the various ethnic communities and various organizations throughout the state. She works to teach these groups about the various business resources our office offers and inform them about important election-related information. She also oversees the operation of the Minority Affairs and Veterans Affairs divisions. While at the Secretary of State's office, Monique has developed new programs, including Styling for Democracy, a barbershop and beauty salon poll worker initiative, as well as work to educate the reentry community on their voting rights as citizens of Ohio. Previously, Monique worked for former Secretary of State John Husted as his statewide minority outreach coordinator, Greater Stark County Urban League as their chief of staff, and the Stark County Board of Elections as their fiscal officer and poll worker coordinator. Monique was raised in North Canton and currently lives there with her husband and their 3 beautiful children. So I introduce Monique Moore. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that, Lisa, and I appreciate our partnership with ODOT. We've done a lot of amazing things to support businesses across the state. Getting ready to share my screen. My presentation today is business identity theft. Can everyone see that okay? Lisa,
yes.
Can you see? Okay,
yes.
Good. Thank you. So business identity theft, our office does not track numbers, and specifically as most businesses report fraud to the AG's office, our law or the law enforcement, we rely on data from Dun Bradstreet, and it seems to be consistent with our findings. We started business identity theft as an initiative with our office to protect small businesses. Our public business search page allows customers to view their own business entity and allow customers to verify their entity is active and properly registered. But this information also allows fraudsters to view business information and use that to alter records. We do not maintain records of business owners, but we maintain the statutory agent, and it is required to have a business in the state of Ohio. It is a personal name and the business record. Many fraudsters update the name to appear connected and imply that they are the business owner. Entities may be canceled for various reasons, such as failing to file a biannual report, maintaining a statutory agent, that appears just canceled status. Someone could reinstate the entity and returning that business to an active status, which allows them to connect to a business that was originally formed about 30 years, for example. It often gives people the impression that a business is more credible because of the long history. We saw significant increases in reinstatements filed in 2020. Business identity theft and business records. We do not know who the business owner is. We cannot verify the person submitting the filing has permission to do so. In most cases, attorneys and service companies file documents on behalf of the business entity. So each time the submitter might be a different person. This is a normal process, but means someone can file a document with no permission to do so, would not be flagged as suspicious. Tracking in our benchmarks. Although we can't track officially business identity theft, as in most cases are reported to us, we have identified benchmark points. These are the factors that show that there is likely fraud occurring. The following information can be tracked from our office and monitored business identity theft trends, like rate of bad payments. Fraudsters use stolen credit cards, information to submit filings online, card owner files, a chargeback dispute, a rate of expedited reinstatements. A fraudster file a reinstatement to return a canceled business, an entity to active status, and to steal identity and long history, and a bad address resulting in return mail. Fraudsters use fake addresses and official notices sent by our office and return undeliverable. So those would be our benchmarks.
Monique, can you change your PowerPoint so that it's in presentation mode so that we can see it a little bit better?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's fine if you want to go under slideshow from current slide.
How was that?
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. How are we addressing business identity theft? Through business filing notifications, fraud detection tool to prevent bad payments, partnership with Dun and Bradstreet, fraud consortium, UCC watch list, and monitoring trends in other states. The business filing notification system. As you monitor your personal credit, it is important for you to monitor your business record by checking our database frequently to determine all the information is accurate. To assist, the Ohio Secretary of State's office provides a free and easy business filing notification system that allows businesses to track any changes and updates to their business. Business filing system notification. Businesses or individuals need to submit an email address with us and business charter, registration, or license number for each entity. Following the approval of the business filing entity, you will receive an email notification and a link to view the document. So you would sign up here. Fraud detection tool. We receive notifications of chargeback disputes when credit owners report fraudulent charges to their bank. These charges are indicated a fraudster stole their credit card information and used it to submit an online filing and alter a business record. The bank contacts us and asks us to prove the validity of the charge. And in most cases, we lose the dispute as the owner of the card did not submit a business filing. We have to refund the filing fee, cancel the business record, but often these reports come out a month after the filing was approved, so the fraudster has been able to complete the fraud before we can cancel the record. Our partnership with Dun & Bradstreet. Communication, learning, monitoring activities is our best approach to prevent this fraud. The more we know, the more we can tweak our system to prevent this from happening. We joined DNB Fraud Consortium in 2019 to help address business identity theft. This consortium brings together representatives from the government and from the industry to track fraud and to discuss ways that we can work together to address this. We report all suspicious activity to their investigators, and they have access to all of their findings and reports from the other partners. UC watch list. UCC filings are typically submitted by the bank after a loan to money to a debtor who uses collateral to back up an i.e. loan from a bank farmer for $1 million to buy a tractor, and the bank holds that collateral interest in the tractors. If the farmer stops paying on that loan, then the bank can take the tractor. UCC watch list, a uniform commercial code. Filings are submitted and public notice of underlying security agreements between the secured party and the debtor. Our office receives these UCC filings, which are likely fraudulent and intend to harm an individual or a business listed improperly as a debtor. Most commonly, the harassment filings are submitted by the defendant in a criminal action against law enforcement agents, judges, prosecutors, that can be filed against any individual or business. UCC watch list. We can provide a watch list service which allows businesses to track the debtor's name and approve UCC filings. An email notification is sent to the individual when the term being watched are included in the UCC filing. Communication with other states. As fraudsters are always coming up with new methods, one of the most important steps our office takes to address business identity theft is to communicate with other offices to monitor trends and to inform our customers of potential scams. We work with the National Association of Secretaries of State and International Associations of Commercial Administrators to discuss trends that we're seeing at the Secretary of State's office to learn more about solutions that we can implement and address these problems. We also work with the Federal of Tax Administrators to discuss data points, which we can share trends being seen in both offices. Please feel free to contact our office. Above there is our phone number. Above there is listed our times that we are available and our email address to contact us for more information. business@ohiosos.gov. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those at the end, prompted by Lisa. I'm going to unshare my screen now.
Okay. Thank you, Monique. One thing I forgot to mention is that we are recording this session. Also, all the presentations that are being presented today will be sent out to all the attendees. So you will get a copy of all of this information. So if you couldn't write all the notes down that quick, you definitely will be able to obtain a copy of everything that's being presented to you today. Our next presenter is Latanya Bacon. Latanya is a specialist with the Stakeholder Liaison Field Operations of the Communication and Liaison Division of the Internal Revenue Service. And that's in Area 3, Cleveland, Ohio. As a stakeholder liaison specialist, her primary focus is on local engagement of payroll and practitioner community. And stakeholder organizations to provide information about IRS policies, practices, and procedures to ensure compliance with the tax laws. Latanya joined the IRS in 1987 as a customer service representative in taxpayer service. Latanya Bacon is a graduate of the Central State University, and she holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. And I am working with Latanya today and will present her presentation as she presents all the information. So Latanya, welcome.
Thank you so much. Just want to do a sound check.
You are very good.
Thank you. We can go to the next slide. We'll be talking about IRS Business Identity Theft Program. I have been with the service for 33 years now. I am located in Cleveland, Ohio. Next slide. So as we jump into this, our focus is on small businesses today. And something we know that 70% of cyber attacks are aimed at small businesses with 100 or fewer employees. Now, the thieves, they're targeting credit card information, but they also want the business identity information and the employee's identity information. And they bank on the fact that they feel that small business owners does not have the security protections in place like the larger ones. Now, we know in the news today is the pipeline ransomware attack that brought the focus with a large organization being affected, and it also affecting the economy and the shortage this week that we've seen in the South with gas. But that smaller company, they bank on the fact that you don't have any security practices in place. We learned yesterday that only a small portion of the company's information was actually held at ransomware, and they were able to bring the system back up today. But today I want to talk about some things that as a small business owner, you can do to protect yourself. Fraudsters are constantly looking at new ways to obtain information. And there's no silver bullet, one size fits all that's going to protect companies. But what you can do, and I hope you walk away with today, is put yourself in a position that if they get information, it's limited information and it will not cause an interruption in your business or your billing practices. Now, one thing we know that I'm not sure if you know, the Federal Trade Commissioner is the federal government's owner of the identity theft program for individuals and businesses. They have a lot of resources at their site which is ftc.gov, and you'll hear me refer to those resources throughout this presentation. Next slide. So what we're asking small businesses to do is be smart about their security. Some things that you can do that are minimal monetary costs is require that your employees and you yourself use a strong password. Normally that's 12 characters, at least 12 characters, a mix of numbers, symbols, capital letters, lowercase letters. Another thing we suggest is that you do not reuse passwords. You shouldn't share your password on the phone or in a text or by email, and limit the number of unsuccessful logins. And that'll stop those type of fraudsters that are using the guessing attack, where they're just going to keep guessing according to what they know about you and the common things that most people do when they're setting up a password. Very important that you train your staff. If you have employees, you need to educate them on the current phishing schemes, vulnerabilities. If you have employees or you as the sole proprietor, if you have your system set up where your business systems are on the same computer that you are using for web browsing, be careful. Fraudsters have a way of sending out links to reputable company websites that look like they're legit, and they're just waiting on you to click on that link and give them access to your information. You should be doing a security update yearly and also knowing what the latest attacks are out there so that you're aware of them. You should have a plan. You should have a plan on how you're saving your data. You should also have a plan on how you're going to notify your customers if you become a victim. Again, if you go to the FTC website, there is a document, a guide for business, and it gives you steps that you can take if you are the victim of a data breach. On this slide, we're talking about small things you can do to protect yourself. Um, with your software and your systems, you should be updating the security notifications that they give you on a regular basis. You should set your computer up to do this automatically. Those backups that are sent out is where your software company has seen vulnerabilities and they're sending out things to correct those vulnerabilities. So you should pick that a time weekly that your system automatically updates. It's very important to have your files backed up with an external drive, and that external drive, whether it's in the clouds or an external drive, is secure. We talked about the strong password that should be for your laptops, your tablets, and your smartphones. We know a lot of the smaller business owners use their smartphone to handle a lot of their business transactions. You should have an encryption device that encrypts the files that's on your form, that if they get if you have sensitive information, it's not something that they can just pick up and read normally, that those files are encrypted. Multi-factor authentication is something we strongly suggest we use with the Internal Revenue Service if you're asking us for sensitive information about your accounts. And that's an additional step to just having a password. The most common one is you're going to use, you need a smartphone where you'll receive a security code as an extra layer of protection. There's also a requirement for using a key along with your password. And a lot of software are now using biometrics, which is a facial recognition or a thumbprint. It's very important with identity theft and fraudsters that you add layers to protect yourself. There is, as I said, no one size fits all. But what we want to educate on is do as much as you can to secure your business. So as we go into the next slide, we know that I think we went back. Could you go back one slide? I think I'm out of order. So I have my slides out of order, and I recently talked about the strong passwords. So Lisa, if you go to the next slide, I think I've caught up with you. You'll hear me talk a lot about the Federal Trade Commission, but this is a look at their website and what they have available for cybersecurity for small business. This can be a valuable tool to help you educate yourself and your staff. If you go into this website, you'll see there's different pages that you can link into. If you want to know more about ransomware, um, the phishing emails file, it gives you information on the latest phishing schemes that they have seen trending. And what is really important is the link to cybersecurity insurance. As a small business owner, it's something that you may want to investigate. Um, I work a lot with practitioner data breaches, and one of the things we suggest with every practitioner is that they have some type of cyber insurance. Cyber insurance companies will help walk you through that process if you are the victim of data breach. They will help you understand not only your state requirements, but also your federal requirements. And they can assist you with notifying your clients. So if you're talking to your insurance agent, you may want to talk and find out if it's feasible for you to add a rider to protect your business. Next slide. Now, phishing scams is something that we are aware that most of the small fraudsters use to get you to click on a link, open an attachment. They look credible. It looks, they come to you with an urgency. Your bank account password needs to be updated. Contact us immediately. Um, Before you go and click a link, you need to make sure that it's an authorized person. Most times, if you hover over the link, it'll give you an idea of where that IP address is linked to. With educating yourself and your staff, you'll know what to do and what to look for when you see a suspicious phishing email. If you open the email, the important thing is do not open the link. Opening an email may not give them access, but if you go into the link, a lot of them use keystroke logging to follow you on your computer to obtain your password to get into your systems. So it's very important that you are aware of what emails you're opening. And one of the things we suggest, if you're not sure, call and verify. You know your banking institutions, they may even send you an email purporting to be the IRS. If you have a question, call before you open any links. The IRS will not send you an email asking you for personal identifiable information. So we can move to the next slide. This is a common scam that is going on, and it's been going on since 2017, where they're sending a phishing email to larger employers, to payroll providers, under the vex of being the CEO or someone high level in the company. And they're asking employees to send employee W-2 form, copies of the employee W-2 forms. Now, when this started in 2017, over 900 organizations contacted us regarding this scheme, and 200 of those organizations fell victim to the scheme. And it doesn't seem like that's a lot, but if you take that and you multiply it by the number of employees it affected, We felt it was important enough that we needed to step in and we needed to do something to protect not only the employer, but also the employee. So we issued multiple warnings regarding the scam. We created a new information page for employers and payroll professionals about the W-2 scam. And you can find that information by going to the IRS website, irs.gov, and just type in the search box identity theft. There you will find educational information for employers and employees about the scam. And if your employee receives the W-2 scam, we would like for them to forward the original email to phishing@irs.gov. And in the subject line, just put W-2 scam. Now, if the employee's data was stolen, which means the business fell victim to the scam, we also give you information on how to report that. And that's by going to data loss at irs.gov and providing us your contact information, your phone number, email address, and we will follow up with you and give you information on what steps you need to take to provide us with information. We know that the fraudsters are constantly looking for ways to get information. So the more information you can give us to assist you as a small business owner, we would appreciate it. So we can go to the next slide. On this slide, we're talking about signs of identity theft. Monica called them benchmarks. What we're looking at here is things that could alert you as a small business owner that you may have been a victim of identity theft. You file an extension for a return and it's rejected because we say we already have a return on record for the employer identification number or the social security number. When you try to file an amended return for your business and we tell you that there's a duplicate return under that employee identification number or the social security number, and we already have it on file. You may receive transcripts of your business tax account and you didn't request them, or you may receive a notice and it doesn't correspond with anything that you have filed or you have submitted to the Internal Revenue Service. And another indication is if you stop receiving expected correspondence, and that's because the thieves have gone in and changed your address and have that information coming to them. So if you find those signs, you would want to reach out to us, and we'll discuss that process a little later in this presentation. We can go to the next slide. I just wanted to advise you here of the type of letters that we send out. The letter 6042C, and that's when we identified that there may be some type of identity theft going on, and we're asking you as the owner to confirm that you filed the return, the location, your deposits. We're asking you to verify, to authenticate the return that we have on record. If you receive the letter 5460 C, that's a letter telling you there's a fraudulent entity and we're questioning the entity. That could be a situation where someone has taken your personal information, your business name, and tried to set up an employer identification number. And with that information, they're looking to file fraudulent returns for the business, claiming certain credits that you may not be entitled to as a business. If I could stress one thing here, if you receive any notices about suspicious activities in your business, please contact us immediately by following the instructions in the letter. We can go to the next slide. I kind of alluded to this just a minute ago. Um, Call the toll-free helpline, follow the instructions in the notice. We ask that if we identify it, we will give you steps to take. And once you receive that letter, it gives you additional information. It also tells you that you might want to file Form 2848, which is a power of attorney. Most taxpayers file the power of attorney to allow a tax professional to represent them. We also will put a hold on any collection once we've identified business identity theft. And we'll also put an indicator on your account to let other employees know that there is an identity theft case listed attached to your account. Um, if you have a rejected electronic return, we tell you to file paper returns. And then we also tell you, once again, you need to go to the Federal Trade Commission and find out proactive steps that you can take. We can go to the next slide. A part of those proactive steps is notify the IRS, follow up with whatever instructions we're giving you in our notice. You need to carefully review and reconcile your account statements. We suggest that you monitor your credit report at least once a year. Um, Place a free 90-day fraud alert on your credit report by contacting one of the three agencies, and they will notify the other two agencies. And we also refer you to irs.gov, Identity Theft Central, to find information um, that is available not only for practitioners, that they can help you through the process, but we also have an identity theft information page for the businesses themselves. We can go to the next slide. One of the things that is very important as a small business owner is if there are any changes to your address or the responsible party, we ask you to file Form 8822B. The responsible party is defined as the person who ultimately owns or controls the business entity. If there is a change in control, you are required to submit this form within 60 days. This is important because if we find identity theft activity, or we need to contact you for any other activity, that we are reaching out to the person who has control and can address the issues that we are bringing to light. So if we go to the next slide, I spoke about the identity theft process, and that brings me to Form 14039B, the Business Identity Theft Affidavit. Next slide. Now, we've had 14039, the form for individual identity theft, has been around for several years. The 14039 has been around for several years, but there's a change to the process. We used to reach out to businesses and ask them, request that they complete the 14039 from activities we're seeing internally that could indicate identity theft. In December of 2020, we opened this form to the public. Now we want businesses to be proactive. If you go to irs.gov, you can download this form, and it is a resource that I think Lisa will be sharing with you. I attached the link to the actual form. With this form, we're hoping that you can advise us if you've seen any of those signs I spoke of earlier. Your electronic return is not being accepted. You're getting notices for forms that you normally don't file with a balance due on them. Now, with this form, it's a 2-page form. It does request documentation for security reasons, and the documentation for a sole proprietor is different than the document request for other entities. So if you find yourself needing this form, make sure you read what documentation we are requiring, and also make sure you sign the form, so that it is processable. We can move on to the next slide. On this slide, I'm just giving you some examples of when to use this form. And it goes back to what we spoke about earlier. You're getting rejects from an electronic return that we say we already have on record for the same time period. You start receiving notices about tax returns that you didn't file. You receive a notice about W-2s filed with the Social Security Administration that you didn't file. Or you start receiving balance due notices and you know that you don't owe the IRS. If we go to the next slide, we'll tell you, we have here listed when you should not use this form. Now, taxpayers that never applied for an EIN but they begin to receive notices, you should use the individual 14039 and report that under your Social Security number instead of filing the 1409B. That is because that is a fraudulent entity. And someone has used they have enough of your personal information to submit a request for an employee ID number. We know that they do it for several reasons. They may want to issue W-2s to your employees because they have enough of your employee information. And then they're going to use that information to file fraudulent individual returns under your employee's account. In that case, it's a fraudulent entity. You should use the individual form to report that to us. Another example of when you would not use this form is if you had a data breach, but there is no evidence of any fraudulent tax returns or fraudulent W-2s being filed. If you want to report that may have had a data loss, you should use the 14039. We can move to the next slide. And finally, one of the other I wouldn't say the final thing, but another thing that we're doing to protect your personal identifiable information is in December, we started masking business transcripts. That's your account information that we have under your business ID number. All the financial information will be visible, but we will mask out your name, only showing the first four letters of your first and last name. We will mask out your employer ID number, where only the last four digits are visible. And if you're using your Social Security number as your reporting identifying number, that information will be masked too. Identity theft is something that not only affects the taxpayer, it affects the IRS, and it affects the state of Ohio, and it affects the tax professional community. Fraudsters are always looking for ways to get information to make a return look authentic. We can't stop every attack, but we can do some pretty basic things that are not that costly. If you go to the FTC site, use the tools they have, check your system, have a plan, and always continue to educate yourself on the new schemes and ploys that the fraudsters are using. And with that, I am going to stop here and I'm going to turn it back to you, Lisa, and I'll wait for any questions at the end of the event. Lisa, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
LaTanya. This is a lot of information that we received today. We are going to move on to our next presenter, which is Erica Dealwith. Erica is the Director of Business Operations at Better Business Bureau, serving Greater Cleveland. She received her BA at Baldwin Wallace College. During her 20-year career with Cleveland BBB, Erica has worked in many different capacities. She was promoted to her current position in 2015 as a trained mediator. Erica enjoys the challenge of resolving a difficult complaint. She currently resides in Independence with her husband, son, and their 2 dogs. Welcome, Erica.
Good morning. I'm going to share my screen here in just a second. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So good morning. Again, my name is Erica Dilworth. I'm with the Cleveland Better Business Bureau. If you're not aware, the Better Business Bureau has been around for more than 100 years. Our Cleveland office is responsible for issuing reports and handling complaints on if a company happens to be located in Ashtabula, Cuyahoga, Geauga, Lake, and Lorain counties. Better Business Bureau, we're known for issuing business profiles, ratings. We also do customer reviews, handle complaints. We have a scam tracker, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation. You can get a quote if you're looking to, have a landscaper out or any other business that you're looking to, have come to your home. We also do advertising review. That's something we're probably less known for. If a company is saying that they're, licensed, bonded, and insured, then that's something that they should certainly be able to substantiate. So we do reach out to businesses for that. And so a few of the things that I was planning to talk about, LaTanya touched on. So we'll, I'll kind of quickly go through those. We're going to talk today about a lot of the scams that the Better Business Bureau is seeing or that we've heard about. The first one is fake check scams. This has been around for a long, long time, and it just seems to morph into whatever the scam of the hour is. This particular scam that came to us through our scam tracker was about a company that had received a check. The CEO of the company received a check for $2,500. The business was unaware of who the check came from. And so this is actually a copy of the check. So this is the check that the business received. Again, it was for $2,000. It looked like it came from this Dynatech Systems. And something that LaTanya touched on is we're seeing more and more of where the scamster will use a legitimate business's name. And so when you get this check and you look up Dynatech Systems, you are comfortable that Dynatech System is a legitimate business because they've been around for a while, because they have an established location. But that's what the fraudsters do. We're seeing this more and more, especially in employment-related scams. You're going to get an email, you're going to get a text from what looks to be from a legitimate business, but it's actually a scamster trying to get you to click on a link or send money or cash the check or whatever it is that the scamster has decided that they want you to do. But this is not a legitimate check. The scamster wants you to deposit it, and then they want you to send some of the money back. So we see these kinds of checks all of the time. And if you aren't expecting a check, then certainly it's likely that it's not a good check. Other types of scams that we see are fake invoice scams. This is, you have to be so very careful. LaTanya talked about mostly small businesses are being targeted. That is so very true because, maybe they don't have the checks and balances in place. And so what happens is you get something in the mail from what looks to be from a legitimate business, or the name looks similar to a business that you interact with, and it's really not. And so the web host agents or whomever the bill came from, they're assuming that you're not going to look at it closely enough, or you're not going to have time to look at it closely enough, and that you're just going to pay for it. So it's incredibly important as a business that you have the bills that are being paid. At least 2 staff are taking a look at those bills, and your checks are being signed by 2 staff to make sure that you have 2 folks looking at bills that are going out and being paid to make sure that it's not a scamster trying to get you to pay a bill. This was another thing that came to us through the scam tracker. Ordered one set of ink, was shipped an invoice 6 times that order. This fraudster is hoping that you're going to pay it without thinking about it, decide that you needed to be more. Maybe they're hoping that you'll be comfortable with negotiating a better price. But you got to be really careful because obviously that's the scam, to see if they can't get you to pay more than you expected to be paying. COVID, boy, I hope we're kind of out of this soon, but there have been a tremendous amount of COVID-related scams. You know, from fake texts and emails to shipping concerns to PPP loan scams, government checks and grant scams. It's really just been incredibly difficult this past year to help people navigate through everything that they are being bombarded with. You'll see at the bottom of the the screen here, this was obviously a fake scam, a fake check, but someone received it, stimulus relief program. And it looks like obviously it's COVID related. And so again, this scamster is trying to get you to deposit the check, trying to get you to deposit the check and maybe send some of the check back to them. It's really very difficult. Or these crazy texts that you're receiving that say your package is about to be delivered. We've all had a lot of packages delivered, so the likelihood of maybe you were expecting a package today would make sense. And so they're trying to get you to click on the link so they can have access to your phone or your laptop or whatever it is that you're using. So you just have to be careful. I actually got a scam email from Amazon. It was telling me that my Prime account was past due, and then I needed to click on the link to verify my payment. So I knew it was a scam because my payment had already been processed. But you have to be so very careful. If it looks to be from someone that you do business with, you still just can't take it for granted. You have to double check and not ever click on the link. PPP loan scams, this is obviously maybe kind of passed us by a little bit, but watch for look-alike sites. Be careful when you are on social media that you are giving out personal information. As Tanya talked about, they're looking at dormant business names. They're looking at names that are very familiar or very close, maybe just a letter or two off. You need to be really careful. And if you find out that anything's happening, certainly contact the SBA and talk to them about what steps that you can take to freeze your credit and look at your credit report. We would say the same thing to an individual. Make sure you're monitoring your credit report. They're making it easier now. We would often just recommend that you look at your credit report once a year. You get a copy of from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies free once a year. But that has actually, we would request that you do that more often now with everything that's going on. Another story that we got through Scam Tracker at the beginning of the pandemic, we received a box of personal protection equipment. Trying to contact the company, we found no invoice, couldn't find any contact information, and then later they received another bill. So what's happening is the scammers just, again, they send it out, hoping that you're going to pay the bill without looking too carefully at it. So if you do get something in the mail and you're unable to return it, you can consider it a gift if you haven't been the one that's ordered it. So just be careful. They're probably going to contact you over and over again to try to get payment, but you do not have to make that payment. Here's another thing, boy, especially when it was hard to get face masks at the beginning. There was a lot of companies out there and a lot of scammers, especially on Craigslist and other places where they're, trying to sell stuff, or they're saying that you can get the, top of the line mask, and really it just wasn't there to be had. And so we had a lot of people that paid money and through a lot of different ways, and they were never able to get what they ordered. So anytime you're going to order from online, order from a company that you haven't done business with in the past, we absolutely would always recommend that you pay by credit card. When you pay by credit card, there are some steps that you can take to, look into the contract, the transaction. But if you pay by cash, if you pay by check, if you pay by any other app where you're just sending money, then you don't have those protections that you might have if you pay by your credit card. So be very careful. Here is another thing, and this actually seems to be continuing, scams related to unemployment. I actually received a letter myself in the mail. My job was actually notified that I had quit and that I was no longer interested in working for the Better Business Bureau. Obviously, my boss knew that was a scam because I'm still working here. But someone actually had put in a claim on my behalf, saying that, an unemployment claim. And so I did get a letter in the mail at my home, and then my boss did get a letter. But this is happening not only to individuals, but is happening to businesses. So you as a business, if you get a notification that, Sally Smith has put in an unemployment claim, and Sally Smith has never worked for your business, then you need to reach out to the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and let them know that it's a fraud. And so it is happening so very much, especially because the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services is overwhelmed by the number of claims that are happening. The fraudsters are taking advantage of that. So again, if you as the consumer have gotten notification and you haven't filed that claim, there is information where you can, report it to unemploymenthelp.ohio.gov. You can do it over the phone. You can do it at their website. But again, you as the business too, if you're receiving notification of folks that have not applied, or folks that have never worked for you have applied, then you absolutely need to reach out and let them know that is fraud. Business email compromise scams. This is something that LaTanya also talked about a little bit, but we are seeing more and more where these small businesses are being attacked. And look at the dollar amounts of what businesses are saying that they've lost. Obviously, it's growing more and more. We didn't have totals from 20, but I can only imagine what they would look like. But a lot of money has been lost. And these are, people, scammers pretending to be the business. Executives request copies of employees' tax information, such as W-2s. Senior employees seeking to have their paychecks deposited into a new bank. So you get an email. We actually have a few examples here. This is actually the fraudster hoping that you, as obviously Robert Smith is not is the scammer, but he's pretending to be. But they want you to not double check. They want you to just send the information. This is actually a scam that involves the Better Business Bureau. And this has happened several times with my life with the Better Business Bureau, where someone pretends to be, you get an email, looks like it's from the Better Business Bureau. They're pretending that it's from us. And again, they want you to click on the link. They want you to click on the link and provide some information that will allow them either to have information on your business, or to, by clicking on the link, they're going to have access to your computer. So you just have to be very careful. If it looks different than it normally looks, or if you are certain you never got a complaint or whatever, contact us, certainly, and ask a few questions. Don't click on the email. Don't click on the link. Social media, boy, be very careful. So many times when it looks like it's real, it looks like it's who you do business with, it looks like it's a friend of yours, but it's really not. And so you have to, how many times have you seen on Facebook or in Messenger where, hey, my account has been hacked, don't click on the link. So you have to be careful. If you know that you're already friends with somebody, and you're getting another request, it's probably garbage. And so you need to be careful not to click on the link. How to protect your business. Certainly educate and train your staff. If they get an email from the boss and the boss is asking for odd personal information, go talk to that boss. Don't just assume. Don't respond through the email. Call them on the phone or go see them down the hall. Make sure that you're, being very careful. Make sure that the business billing that you have, you're familiar with the business, that the name isn't just a little bit off, and make sure you're double checking. When we sign checks here, we have two people that look at everything that's going out to make sure that nothing looks funny to us. Again, establish payment authorization process. And make sure, I'm not the person to talk about computer protection, but, make sure you have all the protection that you need. And that's something that you could, talk to a tech person about. And don't click on links inside unsolicited emails. You got to be careful. Just like I think LaTanya said, hover over, you usually can get a better sense of where the email is actually coming from, just to make sure, because they're smart. Those scammers are smart. That's why they do what they do, because they know that they can trick a lot of people. And so don't just assume that it looks good enough. It looks like maybe. If you're not sure, if you're not expecting an email, don't click on the link. So this is actually a quick picture of our scam tracker. This is a site, this is a page that's available on bbb.org, which is our website. And this is a place for you to report or to review scams that are happening in your area. So you could actually, drill into, a specific area that you're looking at, or just get an overview of IRS scams that are out there, unemployment scams that are out there, government grant scams, whatever kind of scams are in your area or just that are happening, or you can report. It's a great place to report. We actually share this information with government agencies like the Federal Trade Commission. So it helps them be aware of scams that are out there, scams that are current, scams that are happening. And so this is a place where our staff, we actually report scams on here too, because it's important to know what's happening at the minute of scams that are happening out there. Here's my contact information. If you need to reach me, if you have any questions, I'm here most of the time. I'm happy to help you. And I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Erica. Again, just great information. And now I'm going to introduce our final speaker, Simon Herring. Simon is a cybersecurity expert with over 25 years of experience helping companies find weaknesses, strengthen defenses, and respond to cyber criminals. Simon loves tracking down hackers and keeping them off the network, but he's also passionate about helping people stay safe online by making better decisions. Today, Simon will share how to spot ODOT-themed phishing emails and what to do about them. Take it away, Simon.
All right, awesome. Can you hear me okay, Lisa?
Yes.
Outstanding. Screen looks good too?
Excellent.
Perfect. Well, I just want to start by thanking Monique, LaTanya, and Erica. They've made my part of the presentation a lot easier, because you've covered such awesome things and laid the groundwork for some of the very specific things that I want to talk about today, which is some of the phishing attacks that have been targeting the certified entities that do business with ODOT. So first, again, I'm Simon. The team that I work with here at ODOT is the cybersecurity operations team. And part of that responsibility includes defending the organization from ongoing phishing attacks and responding to those attacks. So on the daily, I'm interacting with reported phishing emails. Some of those are reported by you on the phone, and some of them are reported by people within the organization. And what I want to do today is I want to show you two very real examples of some ODOT-themed phishing emails that were used to target certified entities. And then what I want to do is just briefly recap some of the things that have already been mentioned by the previous speakers. So together we can help fight cyber criminals like this crazy guy here wearing the mask. So let's go ahead and get started with this first example. This is a forged email, and you might recognize the term spoofed as well. So the actual sender isn't who they say they are. It certainly does look like it came from Ohio.gov. It looks like it came from DOT SDBE, but it didn't. It was actually sent through Dallas Lutheran Schools, as you could see here in the red. The other thing that's interesting about this email is that the user was an Office 365 user. So their Outlook email actually warned them. You can see it in red here. It says the actual sender of this message is different from the normal sender. Click here to learn more. So it's warning the user that something's not right about this email. Now, I understand that not everybody uses Office, but do know that this feature is out there. You just need to slow down to see it. And that's why I've decided to put an ODOT themed, traffic sign in here. Hey, when it comes to email, particularly when it comes to your business and email, and also at home and email, slow down and pay attention. Read important emails when you can truly afford to pay attention, because what the scammers are trying to do is they're trying to take advantage of a simple concept that sounds like this: emotion suspends reason. I'll say it one more time. Emotion suspends reason. So what do I mean by that? If I send you an email that says contract compliance monitoring report, okay, that's probably going to mean something to you on the phone. And you're like, compliance monitoring? What does this mean? I have no idea what this means. It might freak you out. It might make you nervous. It might make you curious. But that emotion, particularly if it's hyper, is going to short circuit that valuable decision-making process that your brain has, and you're more likely to click. So again, when you're looking at your email and it relates to your business, slow down and make sure that you can focus. All right. A couple other things I want to point out here. A couple of the speakers, Erica, Latanya both mentioned if you hover over a link, so down here you can see it says click here. If you hover over it carefully, it'll expose the underlying URL. Now this, frankly, is gibberish to most people. I look at it every day, so it makes sense to me. But this is definitely not an ODOT website, okay? Not even close, all right? So slowing down, mousing over, looking at the links, paying attention to how the email is making you feel, just slow down and pause. So this is an example of forged email. The next email is what we would call hijacked email. So this is a business email compromise situation. And what you'll see here is I actually had to gray this out because the sender rather was a certified or is a certified entity registered with the state of Ohio. And what happened is this individual fell victim to a phishing attack. So the phisher was actually in this user's email and found, here's the clever piece, this part in green is actually an email that David Walker, many of you may know David Walker here at ODOT, the accountability manager. They found this email in the email box and basically forwarded it out with this phishing link. Now, what this does to the recipient is it really raises the stock. It makes the email seem a lot more credible because they see, oh yeah, look, here's David Walker, and oh, they're warning me about this phishing attack. How ironic. There's a warning in the email sent by David about a phishing attack that also includes a phishing link. A surprising number of people actually clicked on this email, and the cycle continues. People went to, if you clicked on this, again, this is not an ODOT website, okay? This would have redirected them to another website, and it's all encoded in here, where they would have been asked for their credentials. And if they entered their credentials in, you know, if that was tied to Office 365 or Gmail or whatever, their email would now be hijacked, and that cycle continues. And as the previous speakers, you know, mentioned, the goal here is to commit some level of business fraud once they have access to that information. At this point, some of you may be wondering, you know, how are people getting access to my email address? Well, the information for certified entities are listed in two locations. One is on an ODOT website, and the other one is on a State of Ohio Department of Administrative Services site. And really, it's similar to the entities listing that Monique talked about from the Secretary of State. Those lists need to be out there. We are exploring ways to make it more difficult for those email addresses to be automatically gathered, and we've got some options, so stay tuned on that. Again, an ODOT sign here, speed limit 35. Please slow down when you encounter something like this, and remember that emotion suspends reason. Okay, so what can you do to help? Couple things first. I want to tell a brief story. Just recently, actually 2 weeks ago, here at ODOT, a division received a $10,000 invoice from a legitimate ODOT vendor. And it was for work that had actually been performed by the vendor for this ODOT office. What the ODOT employee didn't know is that the vendor's network and computing system had actually been hacked. And the invoice that had been sent out, while it was legit and could have been tied back to legitimate business, the banking information was not. So what this employee did, though, was incredible. It was so simple. They picked up the phone, because we train users to be suspicious about unsolicited email, particularly with attachments. Picked up the phone and said, "Hey, it's me. I just got this invoice from you guys. Did you just send it out?" And the lady says, "Well, no, I didn't send that out." And so they put their heads together, they examined it, and they figured everything out and realized that the system, their system, had been compromised. So it may sound tedious to you to have to make a phone call or establish contact like that, but just think of the numbers that Erica shared, how much business fraud is costing people. So again, just slow down, make a phone call. If you have a local IT department, let them know as well that the phishing email has showed up. It's not very often that a single phishing email goes out. We often see that, you know, it's 3 or 4 emails are sent out to a specific set of users. Sometimes there's 100 emails that get sent out to specific users in an organization. Don't assume that somebody else has reported it. It's kind of like when you see an accident on the highway. You know, don't assume someone else has already dialed 911. Please, if you see phishing email, report it to your IT department. And then this is super important. We want to offer this up to our certified entities working with ODOT. If you receive an ODOT-related phishing email, we want to know about it. We invite you, please, send us a copy to security@dot.ohio.gov. Now, to be very specific, please, ODOT-related phishing emails. We want to know about those. You probably receive a variety of phishing emails. Please continue to report those through normal channels. But if you get an ODOT-related email, please send it to security@dot.ohio.gov. I put a traffic signal in here too. I think it's most of us, we say it with a smile here, most of us, when we see a yellow light, we speed up. That yellow light means prepare to stop. Yellow light means slow down. And in all of the previous examples that I shared, there were clues that if you're slowing down and if you're thinking clearly, you can catch that something doesn't seem right with the email. Your instinct should kick in. There should be something that just doesn't feel right. So those yellow lights mean prepare to stop. So again, slow down, stop, pause for a moment, pay attention to what you're feeling. Remember, emotion suspends reason. So what can you do to help out? Well, so preparation is super important, right? You saw in some previous slides, you know, make sure you've got a great backup. If you do fall prey to ransomware, one of the greatest remedies for that is a backup that's not stored on site, So I kind of put these little tapes here, just kind of being cheeky. We don't use backup tapes anymore. We actually use cloud or online-based backup services. But make sure that you've got a backup solution. There are also solutions out there that can protect your data from ransomware. You have to look for them specifically. One service is called Acronis, A-C-R-O-N-I-S. I'm not endorsing them. I'm just saying that they stand out specifically as protecting your data from ransomware attacks. There's a surprising number of people who just don't know how to change their password quickly. If you do fall victim, you want to make sure that you have control of your accounts as quickly as possible. If you are reusing your passwords across multiple applications, and you shouldn't be doing that, do make sure that you change all of those passwords. So if your Office 365 password or your Gmail password is the same as your Twitter, your Facebook, your business, your banking, etc., it's a bad practice, because that single password could likely give a criminal access to all those accounts. So do make sure that if there's a compromise, that you change all of those. It's already been mentioned, multi-factor authentication. That's just that second step that makes it super difficult for cyber criminals to get in if they have a password. You know, they're likely going to need the token that's assigned specifically to you, or they're going to need the cell phone that's assigned specifically to you. And so that makes it just that much more difficult. And that is really all that I have today. I zipped through this. You know, Monique, Latanya, and Erica, like I said, set the stage beautifully. And with that, I'm going to unshare my screen and hand it back to Lisa.
Thank you, Simon. I'll ask that Monique and Erica also turn your, there you go. We want to see you. First of all, I want to say thank you to all our panelists, because the information you provided was timely and so helpful for our businesses, and also for individuals. We are getting close to time. If we run over, if individuals can stay on, okay. If not, we are recording the session and we'll be sending out the information. I'm not sure that we have any questions in our chat, but if someone has a question they'd like to ask, either raise their hand or so we can allow you to come off mute and ask your question.
We do have one question in the chat from Marla. She was asking what tipped off the check was fraudulent from Dynatech.
I think the tip was they weren't familiar. You know, they weren't expecting a check, and they were unfamiliar with Dynatech. And so when they started investigating, of course, they initially reached out to Dynatech, and Dynatech said, "We didn't send you a check." But you know, the real problem with checks that you receive in the mail, the bank has to deposit your check. The bank is not going to tell you, if you walk in with a check, the bank is not going to tell you that it's a bad check. Their responsibility is to deposit the check, and it could take 2, 3, 4 weeks for you to know that check is actually bad. But by that time, the scammer has already contacted you, and they're trying to get you to send money back to them. So that's really, but again, they didn't know it was coming. So that's really was the initial tip.
Monique, did we lose you? I think we did. Okay.
Well, that was the only question in the chat. Marla had also mentioned that she had just gotten a notification from FedEx this week regarding a corrupted address on her address for delivery. So she's been affected by that.
Mm-hmm. Erica, is there a listing for the statewide BBB bureaus, or if people go to the one site that you suggested, can
Yeah, our main
gain?
site is actually for everyone, bbb.org. If you are looking for any information on any business across the United States, we have up in Canada, we have New Mexico. So yeah, bbb.org is for everyone.
And LaTanya, I know you kind of went over this. So what are some of the top scams that the IRS is seeing? And you're on mute. And we unmute.
Okay, I'm in order now.
Okay.
I would say for business entities, setting up the fraudulent entity in order to submit fraudulent tax returns, fraudulent W-2s, so that when we do income verification, there's a return there and a W-2 listed to a fraudulent account. And so not only does it affect the business, but it also affects individual taxpayers. So I agree that you need to, if you receive something, the big thing now is unemployment. If you receive something from the unemployment office saying that an employee you're not familiar with, that's something that could make you take a second thought. If your employee comes in and says they've been notified by unemployment, that's something that makes you want to look at it from your business end. As far as the email, the phishing to get your clients' email accounts to send out those fraudulent emails that look like they're coming from someone within your company, that's what we're seeing as it relates to business identity theft at the federal level.
At the federal. And one other question at the federal level, I don't know if this is something that would affect IRS, but the PPP loans, you know, hearing that, you know, people are getting fraudulent loans. So, you know, if they don't have a business, you know, how are they doing this? And, you know, will that flow through the IRS at some point?
And the PPP loan is owned by the Small Business Administration. They're the ones that administer that loan. But how it could affect the small business owner is they've set up that fraudulent entity to make it look like they have a legitimate business and they're putting in a legitimate request for that loan. So they may hear from SBA that they have a loan outstanding and they
Okay.
never applied for it.
Okay. Monique, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, I do. And this question comes from me traveling the state and helping business entities get started. If you look on the Google website and you were to Google IRS, there are 4 different IRS tax ID EIN opportunities before the true one, which is irs.gov. And I was wondering, are you guys working with Google to make sure that, and this would go to LaTanya Bacon, to remove these entities that are charging folks $1,000 or $500 for an EIN number that is free. And I was just wondering, are you working with Google to eradicate that confusion?
I cannot speak to the criminal investigation division of the IRS. I am not aware of any active. But if you, and you can get my email address from Lisa, if you could send me your concern, I definitely can share it with
Okay,
our investigation.
excellent, because we're running into folks that are paying for EIN numbers.
And we can't stop that. I mean, they're providing a service. Hopefully it's a legitimate one, but it's something that they can go online and do themselves.
Exactly.
They shouldn't have to pay for it.
Right. And I just think they should be bumped down, and IRS being brought to the top of the feed, versus folks who just are doing this as a service. So thank you. I'll send that information to you. Thank you.
Sounds good.
And Simon, I know you mentioned that, you want to receive information mainly for fraudulent emails that are looking like they're coming from ODOT. Do you have a perspective statewide? What type of emails are people receiving from the state beyond the unemployment emails?
Yeah. So I mean, really, what we'd like to see, and what we have been seeing, are invoice. The most frequent ones happen to be invoice type phishing emails. You have received a fax type of phishing emails, and I think voicemail is another pretty frequent one. You've got a voicemail waiting. But what we would like to see from our partners that are doing business with ODOT are those ones that claim to be from David Walker and claim to be from they're emulating your division's real business processes. Those are the things that we want to see about, because there are things that we can do on our end to notify the community quickly. David's done an outstanding job when we catch those phishing emails to let people know, and we've actually been getting really positive feedback from the certified entities. Some have even said, I'm going to quote it probably badly here, but this one individual said, "Hey, I do business with all 50 states, and Ohio is the only one that's actively communicating with business entities and helping us out. We really appreciate it." But he also stated that he's not just getting phishing emails impersonating ODOT. He's getting it from all of the states. So the fraudsters have really picked up on impersonating with precision how the agencies interact with these certified entities. So, the call is clear. Be really, really careful. If it looks like it's impersonating something ODOT related, please let us know. Otherwise, leverage some of the services that LaTanya, Monique, and Erica talked about.
Okay. We are 2 minutes past 11. I do see there is one other question. I will read that, and after that, we will probably conclude. It says, I had difficulty getting a second PPP loan because the SBA said the business was not in business during the required time frame. However, the business has been in continued business for over 5 years. Do you know where they found this information so we can make sure the business records are correct?
I'm going to jump in here first from the federal level. I would first say that I would talk directly with someone from SBA to see what they are requesting, what kind of documentation. As a business entity, you can always contact the IRS and request transcripts, what I referred to earlier, of your tax account information for the business over a period of time. And 5 years is within the period of time. We normally have it on hand and available for a 6-year period to document if you've been filing returns under the business entity. And that may be some documentation that SBA would take into consideration. But I don't have the number to the business specialty line here at my fingertips. But if you go to irs.gov and type in business specialty toll-free line, you should be able to get that number.
And through our office, you can go online and request a certificate of understanding. You can also reach out directly to our business director, Allison DeSantis, and have a conversation with her if you believe that something forward-facing on our website is incorrect.
Again, I want to give kudos to our panel. You guys were great. You provided us with excellent information. To all our attendees, we will be sending out all the presentations. Hopefully our recording works well, and we will be emailing you that information also. So it will be a legitimate email coming regarding this event. We thank you for your time today. And please join in on any other webinars that we will present for you. So I thank you and have a great day.
Thank you for organizing, Lisa.
everybody.